Hello, so I thought I'd do a quick tournament review for a tournament I attended over a week ago now. I was wondering whether to bother doing a review or whether the ship had sailed slightly since it's all a little hazy and a bit of time has passed. But I thought I'd sort of very quickly go over the events of the day. So it was Nobody Tosses a Dwarf, which is a GBHL 90 hosted in Brum. So again, Brum's a really good venue, about an hour away from me. So try and make it to tournaments there when I can. They're normally very good. So there's a bit of a weird point value this time. It was 6-4 points. There'd be 4 games. I was undecided about what to take. I've kind of not been super enthusiastic during this edition, so I haven't kind of really gotten into it and figured out what I like. So on a bit of a limb, I went with Battle of Fornost, just because I was kind of toying around with like Lurtzer Scouts and then Army of Gothmog and then just a few other things, even though they've like nerfed Gothmog a mad amount. Anyway, so my list was Aener. He was obviously has to be the leader. He was on Armoured Horse with Lance. Got 5 Knights of Minas Tirith, 6 Warriors of Minas Tirith with Shield, and then 2 with Spear and Shield, just because that's how the points worked out, an extra 2 points. And Glorfindel on Asphalloth, 8 Rivendell Warriors with Spear and Shield, 1 Rivendell Warrior with Banner, and then 3 Rivendell Warriors with Bow. So strength are obvious. You got 2 sort of very big heroes, and especially when you put them together, they're pretty grim. They're just both incredible hitters, and that's that really. The resistance to magic's handy as well from the Legendary Legion bonus, and so is the +1 fight to Knights of Minas Tirith, which was good last edition, but is even better now, and they start at fight 4, so you go up to fight 5. And again, obviously, just an elf Minas Tirith shield wall is pretty handy. So I think the main weakness is possibly numbers a bit, and also no march. So a lot of the force isn't super mobile, especially without that march. So you kind of got your heroes and knights to be quite quick, and everyone else is sort of slogging behind a bit. With that, let's just get straight into the games. Yeah, so I'm willing to admit that enthusiasm was slightly low in the morning, just because I'm sort of struggling to get into this edition a little bit. But I was very pleased to play against Tom Eves, who I get on very well with, so I knew it was going to be a good game no matter what, so that was good. So we drew Fog of War, I believe. Oh no, it was Assassination. So that was a mission from the last edition updated to this edition. So he had Lurtzer Scouts, he had Lurt, Ugluk, and Captain and a Drummer, and then just lots of Uruks. 2 banners, other than that, it's kind of as you'd expect. So Glorfindel obviously had to be my assassin. I picked his captain to assassinate because I thought the drum would be slightly too obvious. It's not really a spoiler to say he obviously picked Ugluk to be his assassin because he's beside Lurtz, he's the best fighter, and he's got strike and 3 might, and he had to target Glorfindel. So in terms of deployment, so I deployed my Minas Tirith warband right up to the midpoint. I left a little gap for a horsey to run through. So Tom then put one of his warbands, led by his captain, sort of at the back in sort of the only piece of woodland on his side of the board. So I was worried he was going to hang back and shoot. So I basically then lined up my elves with a gap for Glorfindel and Aener to sort of go through if he deployed right on top of me, but if he deployed further away, I kind of positioned it so I could basically move back out of their shoot range, and then I had 3 elf bows to sort of pepper with and kind of see how that went. Try and beat loads of Uruks in a shooting war. I'm sure it'll go well. With basically my cav just behind at the back. As it turned out, there was a building. There's sort of a building that I kind of anchored both my left and right flanks on a bit. He deployed Lurtz and Ugluk on either side of the building. So the game sort of split into 2 parts. There was kind of a left side and a right side. So the left side sort of developed where he started moving his guys forwards out of the forest, including the captain. And I don't think it was turn. I think it was turn 2. I moved. He moved some Uruks just within 12 of Glorfindel. So I basically managed to get Glorfindel in on a warrior, and then combat off him, and then fight the Uruk captain on his own. So I was basically able to assassinate my target with my assassin really early on, which helped. Obviously, it left Glorfindel like really isolated, but I think it was worth it. And then I sort of started to pivot about six dudes sort of to follow him and kind of go rescue him. Aena I wasn't really sure what to do with because Tom had some archers up in these ruins on my right flank. I couldn't easily get to them because they were up some stairs and stuff. And he kind of had a free view of the battlefield there, so I wanted Aena kind of out of the way. So Aena was going to follow Glorfindel, but the sort of theme of Aena was me being quite indecisive, so he kind of went left, and then he eventually went right, and then he and then eventually he ended up going sort of deeper into Tom's half, and then sort of rolling up his right flank quite late in the game. So I'd say sort of 2/3 of the game he wasn't involved, which was kind of a bit of a waste on the one hand, but on the other side it meant he kind of had a real impact when he arrived. So the story of the left flank is basically Glorfindel getting surrounded by loads of Uruks, and I think I lost one combat, so I was just burning through the rest of my might to keep him sort of alive and charging and stuff. And when he did win, he sort of killed everything. But what I hadn't appreciated was Tom was sort of sneaking Ugluk like a really long way back, around the back of his board towards Glorfindel. And it basically meant he was eventually able to get Ugluk in and striking against Glorfindel. And I think he sort of beat Glorfindel in a combat with Ugluk, and I was trapped and he had a few Uruks in, but luckily I think Glorfindel only took I can't remember how many wounds he took, but he ended up with no fate and 2 wounds, so somehow he was still alive. And then after that I didn't lose a combat, so that kind of, I sort of lucked out a bit there, but also the guys I did have over there were quite good at pairing stuff off, so I was only in real trouble for one turn, and then the rest of it I kind of either managed to peel Ugluk off or put it so that there wasn't enough in contact with Glorfindel to trap him or kill him, so I kind of managed to keep that alive. And on the other side it was kind of just a case of Uruk's doing some damage but me sort of rolling up, and it kind of culminated in Aena going and chopping off Lurtz's head. So that's pretty much how it ended. So I think the final score was 19-5, so it kind of did come across as a bit of a drubbing, but in actual fact I think with the Aena Lurtz showdown, I think if Lurtz had been a bit luckier that could have been bad for me, and again if I'd have been a bit less lucky with Glorfindel, he could well have assassinated Glorfindel with Ugluk, and I think I still would have won just because I was not really losing many models at all, and I was kind of just chopping up scouts, so I think I probably still would have won, but certainly would have been a lot closer. But that was a really, really enjoyable first game, and so we go into game 2. So game 2 was Recon. I think that's one of the new scenarios. Obviously it was in the old edition, but I mean it's been updated and it's in the rulebook. So yes, playing Recon, I was slightly unfortunate to draw Riders of Eomer. So my army that kind of hurts without March in this sort of scenario, going up against Rohan, I kind of didn't super favour my odds going into that really. And it was made worse by Glorfindel coming on turn 2 and Aena not coming on till turn 3. So I mean I was very late on the board, and by the time I kind of got anywhere, he'd already kind of moved up to the halfway point and started popping off a few spells and shots and stuff. In terms of early exchanges, I think I shot maybe 1 rider, I think, with my archers or something like that. It wasn't too impressive, and I think he popped maybe a couple of warriors or something. More significant was he Sorcerer's blasted Glorfindel with Gandalf. He rolled a 6 the first time he tried it, but I was quite lucky to resist it using a will from the store and then a will from from resistant to magic, but then it happened again, and possibly I should have been throwing all the dice out to keep him on his horse, but I was sort of figured that he was coming off that horse eventually, so it's better to just save some might to stop the transfixes later on. Not sure, but either way, as it ended up, he was sorcerer's blasted off his horse, so he was on foot. There's not too much to say. There was a big central ruin, and then a ruin sort of in my back left corner. I sort of marched my army between those two, and I was quite fortunate where I think our priority fell. In the first lot of charging, I was able to charge a bunch of riders. I was able to charge a bunch of riders before they could charge me, so I was able to sort of get that off, which was quite nice. But there's really not much to say about this game, to be honest. I think basically I just got completely rolled up by riders. I think some of my stuff did fairly well. I think I killed. I mean, I don't know. Nothing really sort of stood out. Glorfindel was sort of chopping away a few things, and Aonar generally killed stuff when he sort of got involved. But Éomer was just cleaning up, and again the riders were sort of cleaning up as well. There are a few sort of standout moments where he had some guys sort of running towards my board edge, and I had a few guys kind of just trying to tie stuff up back there, and I think sometimes it'd be like an elf who got charged, and then I'd win and kill the riders. A few moments like that, but nothing sort of major. Gandalf was very, very spicy as well, and very combat-y more than magic-y, which again maybe I should have spent all the sort of Glorfindel will just to sort of keep that thing going. One thing I did do that was really stupid is my opponent called the I can't remember what it is. It's the one where there's sort of the blinding sun or whatever, and then all your opponents get -1 to all their fight rolls. And for some idiotic reason, I just totally forgot called the combat that, because he did say it wasn't unfair or anything. He sort of said like a couple of times like, oh, this is what that does. It wasn't kind of unexpected or anything. It was just me being a bit special. I forgot to say I was against Matthew Hare. I don't think I actually said. Then that's the turn I double combated. So I think I ended up combating and then spending a couple more might just to get stuff off. And basically it ended up with him sort of completely rolling me up, getting 2 guys off his board edge. I think we both broke, to be fair. I think Éonar and Éomer were sort of untouched by the end. There was a last turn sort of gasp where he kind of surrounded Éonar and was, had him sort of dead to rights sort of thing. But I think I can't remember if it was a strike off or just just a roll off. But I won it, and I think I may have done a wound to Éomer or something which he fated, so it kind of had a no impact kind of thing. In fact, I think I burnt through. I've got here that I burnt through all of Gandalf and Éomer's fate, so it wasn't it wasn't all one-sided. I think my heroes did okay. Everything else did not do great, but it only ended 9-1 because Matthew got 2 warriors off, and then we both broke each other, and I think both our leaders were untouched. It was actually quite low scoring, really. And I kind of did go into this one thinking it was kind of damage mitigation, and I think damage was mitigated. So in a way, great success. But I lost that one. So on to game 3. Game 3, I think it's Divide and Conquer from the old edition with updated VPs for this edition that we played, where you kind of deploy at opposite corners, and then there's 3 objectives sort of along the midline point, with the middle being worth more. Yeah, so we played that one. So I was against a Reclaiming Osgiliath list, which is quite cool. I don't know how many people actually listen to this stuff, but obviously a few of you might know I used to take Boromir with Magic Flag a fair few times in the past, and done okay with him sometimes. But yeah, my opponent was Sam Miles with the Reclaiming Osgiliath. This was quite a simple game as well. So obviously I had elves in one side, Gondor in the other. He had Boromir with his big warband on one side, with a captain represented by Ingold with him, and then Madril leading kind of a mixed warband of rangers and men of Minas Tirith on the opposite side. Just in terms of early manoeuvres, I kind of got the sense he was trying to put the squeeze on Gondor with both of his sides. So I tried to move Rivendell sort of towards the middle, and then my Gondor swung very hard towards his Madril, because otherwise I sensed sort of the pincers closing a bit, and I was kind of following the same strategy as him, I suppose, which is where you kind of just gank the weakest looking part of the army. So obviously I had Madril and his lot at my crosshairs. So yeah, he basically his sort of plan was to run towards the middle with Madril, just get away, do some marching, just get out of dodge basically, before he got charged with loads of Gondor cavalry. But unfortunately my cavalry was obviously pretty quick against cavalry, and I kind of basically charged him in the rear, and just so I don't have to repeat it, the theme of this game is me rolling an unholy number of sixes. So when I'm talking about like me killing stuff or rolling stuff up, it's because I would just like, oh, there's a 6, and there's another 6 to wound, and that just happened a lot. So again, I just charging all of his sort of warriors in the back line, with my Gondor. The infantry sort of coming up quite slowly behind, so they didn't get involved till quite late. And then in the middle, Boromir and a few of his cavalry charged in. I was able to surround and gank most of the cavalry quite early on, but Boromir and Glorfindel ended up pretty much just having a showdown the whole game. So this is kind of how the game went for Sam. Is I think he struck 4 times with Boromir, and I think 3 of those times he rolled a 1 or a 2. So we were the same fight, and I had an Elven Blade. So I think of all the combats, I think he won 1 and dehorsed Glorfindel. I'm just gonna consult my notes here. I think Glorfindel lost all of his fate and a wound before the end of the game. So I think Boromir did hit him a couple of times, so maybe he won a couple of fights. And I think Glorfindel should have probably died, was my recollection of things, because half the time I wasn't even striking, so I was like, well, Boromir's got 6 might, I've got 3, and I've already spent 1 on the move potentially or something like that, and so Glorfindel was basically there as a speed bump, and I think the game ended with Boromir. I think Boromir lost the fight and lost all his fate, but he was unwounded, so he obviously lost it a few times with those bloody dice rolls. But yeah, so Boromir wasn't doing a huge amount in the whole game other than bouncing off Glorfindel, and then basically all of my sort of elves and Gondor kind of just ended up mopping up a bunch of stuff, and by the end of the game I controlled one of the objectives completely uncontested, and then in the middle I ended up with more guys there I think than he had, and then same with one of the other objectives where he had sort of 5 or so warriors crowded around it just to try and lock that one out, and I think 1 or 2 of them ended up running away, and then I killed another couple, and I think I had 3 warriors or so, maybe 4 over there at the end, so I had more warriors, or more models standing there at the end. So I think it ended up with me controlling more of the objectives and breaking and being unbroken. So that ended up 14-0. And unfortunately, I think that is a fair reflection of the game. I don't think it's a skill issue. It was just a dicing. It's just like, it's just Glorfindel could have very easily died quite relatively early on, probably halfway through the game. And that then frees up Boromir to just go ham on everyone. It'd probably be a different game then. And even just me not rolling as many 6s for everything, just I think the speed I sort of cut through stuff kind of partially decided things. So it was I don't think I played it badly, to be fair to me. I think I sort of played it quite well, but also the dice. So it's just just one of those. I don't think Sam did anything like particularly wrong. I think it's just one of those. That was a nice game anyway. So with that, we're on to the last game. Right, last game I was against Abner with his Depths of Moria, and this is the good Depths of Moria with the Balrog in it. I really didn't fancy playing Depths of Moria with the Balrog not in it, because that just sounds horrific. But yeah, so we're playing Domination. So obviously, I put all the objectives out. It basically ended up being in a figure of 5, but instead of one being sort of in my back right portion, it was kind of more pushed up to the midway line. So, and how deployment worked is I really figured out Abner's one of these players that I really struggle to play against, because he is quite defensive and had like lots of little pockets of people around the board, and I find that really hard to deal with. So I ended up just deploying on the midline with the whole kind of, well, let's just sort of get stuck in and see what happens. But I was very conscious, because I've used the barrel a lot as well in the previous edition, obviously. The depths are more in a previous edition as well. I like this one, how you don't have to have the drum. It kind of makes it even easier. They're just kind of like a passive effect. But yeah, it's just one of those where I have a lot less men, so it's a bit like if I push on one thing, he'll kind of outmaneuver me with other stuff, and I think that is kind of a weakness in my game. Is it's then just like, well, do you divide your force and try and fight everywhere? But actually, no, because you'll just get swamped and killed everywhere. Or do you basically just crack one lot like a walnut and kind of hope everything sort of works out afterwards? But as it turned out, I think Abner kind of said at the end he kind of misplayed it, in the setup was good, but the Balrog's position wasn't great. I think what made it worse is I basically moved my line forwards and to the right towards the Balrog. So my plan was I have to deal with the Balrog, and Glorfindel and Aeonir are like the perfect tag team to do it. So if I'm going to win, I just have to do that. There's just not another way to do it, I think, with the kind of lineup we had. So I kind of moved forwards and pivoted to the right, and this was enough for the Balrog to be tempted in, and I think he charged in. I can't remember if he killed 2 warriors the first turn. I don't think he got the 6 actually. I think he just sort of bounced off. But then that put the Balrog without goblin support in kind of the perfect place for me. So I then, again, I don't think he had a captain nearby because of the kind of defensive spread out setup. So it meant I was able to call a heroic move, surround him with a whole bunch of stuff, and kind of screen him off from his goblin friends. So I suppose just quickly, so this was the main sort of theatre, I suppose, and it kind of went on for 4 or 5 turns, I think, and basically I didn't need to strike because I think Aeonir pinches the Balrog's fight value, and then Glorfindel has an Elven Blade, so it's actually in my favour, and I can obviously might stuff. I think it basically worked out that the Balrog won one of those combats, and he caused... what did he cause? So I ended up losing a fate and a wound. So he caused 2 wounds, I think, basically. So I ended up taking a wound and losing my fate, which I think I passed. On Aeonir, because he was obviously targeting Aeonir, because obviously he's the one who does the whole nonsense with the fight value. Although Glorfindel's Elven Blade is handy, but Aeonir is kind of the problem. But then other than that, I was just sort of chipping away, and I think, sometimes I cause 2 wounds, sometimes I cause 3 or 4. But basically it ended up me spending all of my might to call a couple of moves when I had to. Obviously when I won priority I didn't have to, because the captain was the captain who deployed on that half of the board was far away enough, it wasn't a problem. And then at the end I just spent all my might to cause all the sort of final wounds. It literally came down to the last dice of Aeonir's rolling to wound as well, so it was very close, but I just caused the 10th wound at the end of that combat, and obviously that means that the goblins automatically break from that point, so I think then it's very much kind of the ball is in my court kind of thing, because I hadn't actually really lost that many men. Goblins have killed a couple. I wasn't really killing that many goblins in that area. It was mildly frustrating actually, so I was hoping I'd be wading through them whilst dealing with the Balrog. But basically the story there is we kill the Balrog and then everyone sort of starts fanning out and doing objectives. But the 2 objectives he held over there, he actually held till the end of the game because he had enough goblins to sort of screen the objectives, and I kind of got a bit carried away killing, so I quartered him before I probably should have. I should have probably done some shielding, but I don't know, I just kind of couldn't be bothered to play it like that, and I was just like, oh, I'll kill stuff, that's fine. And that's kind of all it is really there, is you killed the Balrog, spread out, killed goblins, but didn't kill enough to clear away to the objective. I was probably 2 turns off of fully sort of clearing that, so, you know, Abner still held on to those quite handily. I controlled the middle objective, I just had a guy float back, and that was uncontested. On the left-hand side, he kind of sent a warband round to take my back left objective, but I moved all my knights around there and basically was able to charge and see them off. So I ended up clearing my back left, and then kind of my on my left side in his deployment area, basically just pushed forward, you know, sort of 6 warriors and a knight. Maybe it was a couple more warriors than that. Yeah, basically just cleared that one off as well. So I ended up with 3 objectives. Abner ended up with 2, but I killed his leader, he wounded mine, and then I broke him whilst being unbroken. So it's 14-7. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those where this is why I kind of, you know, I suppose a top tier player would probably have, like, you know, started shielding and doing loads of nonsense to try and max VPs, but I was kind of just like, do you know what, that could have gone completely the other way with the Balrog, so I could have very easily kind of lost that and, you know, got Balrogged basically and then swarmed by goblins, so I was just happy to have won that. So yeah, I ended up winning that one. That was a really nice game to end on, actually. I enjoyed playing Abner, so that was good. In terms of where I finished, I finished in 4th, so I was... Yes, I think 3rd place, won 3 games, lost 1 game, and then all the way down to 9th, won 3 games. So I was sort of 2nd of the won 3 games crowd. I think I was like 6 VPs off as well. So I don't think realistically I could have squeaked any more. So I think 4th I'm very happy with. Especially since I haven't been to a GBHL since Mini Madness last year. So it's pretty much been a year. But yeah, that's how it ended up. Yeah, had a really good time. Obviously, I'd recommend events at Board and Brum if anyone's local or can get to them or whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll catch you at the next tournament.